We almost have enough of a crowd to do personal introductions with everybody. I do want to introduce a few people, just so you know, who will be our speakers. We have a very short presentation. It should take 11 minutes or less. So all the time is for any questions, any concerns. This is actually, we had a few finance and facility committee meetings this past spring, and then this is our fourth town hall meeting that we've done. And we're here to answer questions. We have a couple of our board members here. Tim Herman, Dr. Dean Hoover, if everybody else can just introduce themselves real quick.
I'm Joe Smith, Director of Facilities.
I'm Brian O'Connor, I'm the business manager.
I'm Edith Corrington. I support our English learners and community relations.
Carla Braun, Curriculum and Instruction.
I'm going to try to be as brief as possible. Hey, good. Here's our agenda for this evening. You know, if you look at the history, we've been talking about something to do with our facilities for decades, but it's really ramped up in the last 10 years. And then in this last couple of years, we've had a couple of referendum attempts. So we're going to talk about how we landed on the Miller site and land acquisition. And we have some fairly new details about that. But we will discuss how we came to that conclusion. Then we'll talk about inflation and the cost of not taking action in the past and what it's led us to today. We'll then go to the benefits of consolidation, because the plan itself is this, that we would, as we designed it, build one building, a K-5 building at the Miller location, as you'll see in a moment, and sell this Manning property to either the village or developer. Now, at every meeting we've had, every town hall meeting we've had in the last couple of months, Spencer and Jim, the village manager, have been present. We just scheduled this one, so they can't be here tonight, but they've been really good partners, and we've been talking with them all along, and I think they see the mutual benefit. Because one of the options would have been to attempt to buy the Bank of America property, which is just adjacent here, and then build a campus here. But that would prevent the village from developing the downtown area, which they see as benefits. So that led us to the Miller location that we'll talk more about in a moment. We'll talk a little bit about facilities history. We'll talk about the elementary schools of today and where we stand. And then, as I said, the bulk of the meeting is a Q&A session, where we will be as transparent as we can about where we're sitting. So, how did we come to this current location? So the plan as it currently sits is this: to build one new K-5 building at the Miller site. That would require us to sell Manning, use the proceeds to pay for the land, we'll talk about that in a moment, and then have one K-5 building. And there are many benefits to that, we believe. So that was the original idea. The village said to us, and we understood, that there were traffic concerns, and also there were concerns about taking property away from homeowners and disrupting their lives. We've come to some resolution on those things. So, but it steered us away, and I'm not blaming the village, but they said this is not a good option for those reasons. So we looked elsewhere, we looked throughout the community. We looked at Fitzroy Park. The park district was not interested in selling that. We looked at the corner of Cass and Naperville, and Commonwealth Edison would not give us property. They were not going to forego their property, so it was too small of a space there. We looked at Ty Warner. We got an agreement with them that they would sell us their properties and we could build a school there. Frankly, the message we get from the community is that's not where they wanted it. That there were people who might be interested in supporting a new school building, but not on that side of Ogden, which led us back to the Miller site. The referendum, as you know, in fall of '24, 7,000 votes, one difference between yes and no. In the spring, it was rather decisively no vote, in part driven by people not being interested in that location. It led us back to Miller. That's where we're at today. This is the Miller proposal. You can see in red is the existing Miller property that the school district owns. The yellow are the 7 neighbors who own property there. The proposal is to sell Manning, and by doing so, pay for those 7 properties. There should be a net gain. So the Manning property will be, we're confident that, more than the cost of acquiring 7 properties. We have met with 6 of the 7 homeowners. I would characterize the 4 we've come to a tentative agreement with. They're happy, they like what we're offering, they're ready to go. 1 is in negotiations, but we feel like we're close. The 6th has not met with us yet. We're confident that when they do meet with us, that they will also be amenable. We don't know that because we have not met with them. The 7th is a very challenging situation. We met, we feel like we are on the verge of a compromise, but that's one difficult. So, we are not going to enter into eminent domain and waste the taxpayers' money on attorneys and creating bad will. We are confident that at least 5 or 6 of the families are very much a green light. With 1, we're going to have to do something unique. But I'm optimistic there too. So one of the greatest concerns initially was hurting our fellow community members, and that argument has evaporated pretty quickly. Not done, but we're on the verge of it. I think that's significant. And it's the least expensive option that we've explored. Casa Naperville, as an example, was in the neighborhood of $8 to $9 to $10 million. This should get us a net gain, and we're estimating total costs in about $4.5 million range. So we think we're trying to come up with solutions. The benefits to building at the Miller site: convenient off-street drop-off and pickup. So we would have, and there's people who could better explain it. I wish Joe would, Joe Smith, who is our director of buildings across.
So this is a rendition of what they're using as like a model size for fitting it in the plot of land there. It's a little difficult to see, but this option would give us a touch point of 3 streets. So with car line and bus traffic, you'd be able to get off of municipal streets completely. There's a bus loop on the Trop Street, and then car line could go from east to west, or from west to east, on the south portion of the property. So realistically, no city streets would have a backup of cars. That's kind of the idea of getting that 3rd street. That's a really important feature of it. Additionally, we would have enough size for a junior high soccer field, which could be beneficial to us based on some of our sports problems with real estate. This would also give us playground space for kindergarten all the way up to 5th grade, so it would likely be 2 different play structures. And again, K-5 building for the whole district, which helps consolidating, puts us in a better position to manage the buildings after that point. Again, really kind of a great feature of it.
Thanks. We'll hear from Joe, and I'm sure he's going to answer many questions. In addition to the convenient drop-off parking and avoiding some traffic issues, there may not be a need to disrupt education during construction. That's still being worked out, but it's a possibility. It's a central location, which we heard from the community, that was preferable to the Ty Warner property. And it contributes to the revitalization of downtown Westmont, because the village and some developers could develop this property, which would add to the tax base, which would promote growth for the community and help taxpayers. So it's a win-win in that respect. This is, in 2011, there actually was a proposal to build a new building in the district. And the estimate came in between $18 and $24 million. And I just want to be blunt. You know, I'm an educator. I love learning and our kids learning. Construction's not my passion. I wish we didn't have to do this. I wish we didn't have to ask the taxpayers for another dime. But this is the way the buildings are funded, and these buildings, by any fair assessment, are in need of a complete overhaul. This building is 90 years old. The other building's 70 years old. You know, is it functional? Yeah, but something has to give, and I think Joe will speak to that in a few moments. So, the longer we wait, the more expensive it becomes. And if everybody thinks that we can just not do this, it's gonna cripple the school district, and it's gonna cripple this community. That's just the truth of it, and we can answer any questions. But now, because we have put it down the road, the cost of building a new building is $70 to $75 million. And the longer we wait, the more it's gonna cost. The cost will not go down. So, this is, as you can understand, the problem with inflation and costs. There are benefits to consolidating, having one instead of two buildings. Some of them are listed here. Reduced maintenance costs are a big advantage. Utility costs will decrease, and we won't need as many staff, so there'll be a decrease in overall expenditures. So going to one building could be very beneficial from a financial standpoint. This is a history of facilities. I was exploring back in 2009, 2011, a new building. In the 14s and 15s, there were actually 3 referendums that were proposed. None of them really addressed all the facility needs, but they all did fail. In 2016, we used working cash bonds to make upgrades to the high school that were pretty significant and really made a difference, I think, but they were just minor renovations. In 2022, we did a complete overhaul of the HVAC system that was necessary. It cost $8 million approximately just for the HVAC at the junior high. And then we know in the fall of '24, we went for a referendum, missed by 1 vote, went into the spring, missed by a good number of votes, leads us to where we're at today. I don't want to belabor this point. At some point, probably in our next 40 minutes together, I'll have Joe speak to this. He is an expert, not only on these buildings, but on construction in general. Ron has knowledge. We've got wiring from the 40s. I don't need to make the case for this, I don't think. We have this information sheets. There's all kinds of information. We've tried to put everything possible into these documents. Frequently asked questions, photos of elementary buildings, TIF information, basics of school finance, in-depth history of 201 facilities, referendum story, revenues, expenditures, and a tax calculator so people could see what this would cost them. If there's anything else that people need, we're available, we're here, we'll answer questions, but that is a resource that people can use. So instead of me speaking at you, I'd rather hear what your questions are, and we will answer them as in an upfront manner as possible. So please, yes?
The aerial of the proposed building and the
Yes.
houses, I can't find it when I scan your QR code on this referendum website. Is there somewhere where I can see that? Because I have old eyes, I can't see that.
Okay. Can we put this presentation on our website?
Yes, we will add it, we will add it to our
With
website.
this graph on the
Yeah,
website.
because I live in that area, not right by Miller, but I'm not understanding how you're going to avoid, that traffic backs up all the way from Miller, almost all the way to Naperville Road.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out what you're talking about when you say you're gonna acquire a 3rd street and you're gonna have no backup.
So right now, which again is a little difficult to understand, but on the left side is Washington Street, on the right side, I believe, is Grant Street. So currently, the school only goes halfway. We don't get quite the Grant Street. With this, we would go all the way from Washington to Grant, block to block. So the design of this would, and Ron can kind of point it out. So where he's pointing there is kind of where the car lines would, where they're currently lining up on Washington, they'd be able to line up right where he is pointing his hand. They could continue up into the staff parking lot for overflow. So again, we can kind of do a loop in, around the parking lot and back out. We could also go straight through. It gives us a couple different options for traffic patterns, different ways to come in and out. So again, like everything that you're seeing on Washington Street going clear to Naperville Road would likely fit within that area. Going from Washington to Grand Street, and then again, using the staff parking lot going north to Trout.
How many kids would be bused from this area, from south of the tracks over there then, roughly? Because that would probably take away some of the car traffic, but I'm questioning like enrollment that you have now versus what you're projecting for here, because we won't have a lot of enrollment growth, but in terms of the traffic thing that you need that much more land.
So currently between both schools, I think we utilize 6 buses total. So right now that they're split, they kind of do both pickups. So it would just be diverting everybody to that location. And again, we have just shy of 400 students here. I believe we're about right at 400 for this building.
It would still be the 6 buses because they drop off at Miller and then they'll go to Manning.
Right.
But now they'll just have one set location.
Do you know the lot size at Miller versus the lot size property that we own here?
Here, so this property is kind of split up between 3 different areas. So we own the area across the street.
Oh,
So that playground area is 3 plots of land. Each of them are 0.21 acres.
okay.
And then the school here, I believe, sits on 7 plots, which is, I just sent it to you yesterday, I think it's 1.86 acres. And then we also own 2 plots of land in the parking lot right here on Cass. And again, those 2 plots of land are each 0.21 acres.
So you're talking roughly 6 acres for.
Well, no, it would be just about a ½ acre between there, a little more than a ½ acre here, and then 2, so yeah, about 5 and a half.
And how much is it, Miller?
Over there,
Excluding those 7 properties.
excluding,
Excluding the property is 3.15.
yeah, the school itself sits on 3.1. And then if you got the rest of the houses, that's about,
Well,
maybe 3 and a half.
and first of all, I live on this street. Traffic is disastrous during
Right.
the school days. But why would I give up acreage and take away 7 homes or people who come to the community because of our situation in the various schools we have? Aren't we giving up acreage?
I think what we just computed is this would be slightly more than what we have here.
Are you calculating with the new properties or without the new?
With the new property.
Without the new properties, there's more property that Westmont Manning owns. Why disrupt 7 families? Tear this down, build a bridge across the street and have the playground there, or something like that.
That was previously explored. So back in the day, there was thoughts of making a building over there and connecting it to this.
Yes, okay.
So a lot of the issues that came up with that is utilities in the street, some of the traffic that would create a dead-end street.
Isn't there more TIF value in here giving this to the village comparatively to residential?
So recently, the village has said that the TIF value we have here, they would carry over to the Miller property.
Right, I'm trying to say that there's more value in this land
Yeah.
to someone else than the school comparatively to residential property currently. No matter what, you're gonna have 7 people who are potentially put out. My question was gonna be, why'd you pick the 7 to the east and not maybe 5 to the south?
I think the
What was
big,
the rationale behind going east versus south?
going east gets us to Third Street. So again, getting that,
That answers the question.
yeah, getting to Washington, or getting to Grant Street is a huge feature of it. If we went south, we would still only have Washington and Traub.
Yeah, that answers it. You know.
And again, I don't want to speak for the village, I shouldn't speak for the village. In previous meetings, they've said that the value of this property to them, after it was developed, would bring in about $800,000 a year, which currently, if you think about that, all this property is a school right now, so they're not collecting any taxes off of us. If this was developed into something that the village could develop into, that could generate upwards of $800,000 a year, which again would kind
And we
of,
became a deal with the village, in so many years, they give us the tax revenue off of it in exchange for that. We're doing them a favor, because if they're gonna put in $700,000 units through a developer or something, that, you know, we should benefit from it if we're giving up a prime piece of property right here in the center of town.
well, the $800,000 a year would be the benefit.
Yeah, but
Again,
that's
that-
split between.
That's to the village, not to the school.
It gets split between us, the park district, the fire department, the library, I believe. I think, again, this would be wrong, I think we have the lion's share of that tip, I believe, like with the other groups in that, I think we have a higher percentage, but.
We did.
Yeah.
What's your estimate on
On this
what
property,
you get for this property as opposed to your $75 million cost? Where's the cost coming to affect my tax dollars? My look at it is, I'm a senior, fixed income, all I get is more tax. And to tell you the truth, to get rid of this, I went to a school that was 125 years old in Ohio. Why is it so important that you can't upgrade this and upgrade that and make it viable for the circumstances you have it in, unless the city is pushing you to buy the property? To me, this whole thing comes down to one thing. Taxes in this state don't stop. They will never stop until someone changes or we change as a people. There's a point in time, enough's enough.
I mean, my property taxes this year, we didn't get a break at all. We got hit with the max. You guys-
Yeah.
You know, and
It's gonna cost me $1,000 more a year for you to do this?
Well, let's take one question at a time, but we can, first thing, we are trying to do justice to our taxpayers. And I would ask Joe to talk about why there's a need to upgrade this building. And the conclusion we came to, and I had Joe speak first, is for the financial health and to respect the taxpayers, it makes more sense to build one new building in the long term than to renovate these two. That's keeping it, that's doing what we think is the most respectful thing to our taxpayers, who we're very grateful for. But I'll have Joe talk about why renovating this building and renovating Miller is a non-negotiable. And then when we renovate it, the cost of it could actually equal, if not exceed, building one new building. And in the long term, the benefits of consolidating are much more financially sound than keeping two separate buildings. So, but Joe, can you answer, let's answer one question at a time, and then we'll get to every question, I promise.
I think he's gonna help answer my question.
Okay, but Joe, can you tell
I asked
me?
your question, what's your question?
I haven't lived in Westmont all that long, so I'm kind of new to all of this. But what I guess I would like to know is, what is deficient in the building here that you feel like you need to walk away from this building and go to the other one?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I wish but Joe is probably the best person to answer that.
So again, kind of in a nutshell, when you think of this building, there's the bones, there's the infrastructure of the building. Currently, in this building, in certain areas, in that upper right corner is what is supplying our electric. So again, that panel right there is from 1948. The wire that comes out of that is cloth wire. The wire that goes to these lights is cloth wire. If we were to upgrade these lights, We cannot upgrade them without doing the entire wire, the breakers that feed it, it goes to that. If you think about the HVAC system,
But have you gotten a quote on how much that would cost to actually do that?
yes,
How much is that?
it's all on those last tabs, everything is itemized on those tabs.
What tab? What tab?
If you go to, again, the two main ones that I've put together here is the in-depth history of the facility. So that will give you a time frame, a timeline from 1999 to today
Okay,
of every project that was done and the cost in all 5 of the schools. It also goes through a referendum history of each of those. The referendum story kind of it tells the story of the failed referendums, the previous referendums from the early 2010s. It kind of gives an entire story of that. All of the projects that are outlined in this building, all the other buildings, is outlined on our capital projects list. That also comes with an estimated cost of 2026 pricing. So every project is listed with an estimated cost.
okay.
But again, going back to the building and the conditions of it. So again, if you look at just the electric supply in this building, if we were to put in a new HVAC system, okay, every component of that HVAC system requires electricity. The electricity we have that supplies this building cannot support that. So if we put in a new HVAC system, we have to put in a new electrical system. We also have to upgrade bathrooms, okay? So we have 3 sets of bathrooms that are consecutive on each floor. Each one of those needs a gut rehab. So again, you're opening the walls in 6 bathrooms. You're also opening the walls in the rest of the school to run ductwork, piping, XYZ. This building is built in 5 different additions. So again, this building has been piecemealed since it was built in 1928. So to put in a new system in a building like that is an extreme cost. There's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of different factors that go into that. There's also a time factor. A standard summer for construction is about 55 days. So you're limited on what you can get done year to year. So again, if you're talking a full gut in a building with this amount of unknowns, you're already around the cost of a new building. You're getting into that, just based off of what you know, you're getting relatively close to that. Once you get into the unknowns, it doesn't stop, and you're already in the project, you can't get out, so you have to keep going. And again, with unknowns, you don't have time, you have school starting right around the corner, you don't have a lot of time to deal with that. So, and again, we use the examples, I'm a car guy, I know Jack is in the cars. We have a 1995 Buick Century that has a motor with 150,000 miles on it, and we need a new transmission. So is it worth putting a $6,000 transmission in that car, or do you look at other options? And that's kind of where the district has been for, I would argue, the last 30 years. They've been trying to solve this problem. And in that 30 years, if you read that history, it's unbelievable, the amount of things that come up, the amount of things that change, the amount of ideas that they've had. There's been plans to replace this, there's been plans to renovate this. Then it goes back to replacing because you've wasted 20 years, you're that far deeper into it, now what do you do? And here we are, we're having the same conversation that we did in 2009.
Well, I guess what I don't understand is why, if the electric was, I mean, if everybody knew that that was the case, why weren't these things done over the course of all these past years in chunks? So that you weren't in this position where you had a laundry list of like 10 items that you think now this building isn't any good anymore.
With that being said, this is one of 5 buildings.
Was the money mismanaged? I mean, I don't know. How did you get here?
There's 5 buildings to take care of. They range in ages from 1928 clear into the 50s. The high school was built in 76, the junior high is 74. These buildings are old. These buildings require a lot of projects. The junior high, we just spent It was $7 million to do the HVAC system at the junior high. It was an emergency because the HVAC system that we had was using R22 refrigerant that was outlawed. And then by the time that we needed to replace that, the cost of the refrigerant alone was to the point where we weren't gonna do it anymore. We couldn't. We could not. When I got to this district, I said, we cannot spend this money. It's a waste. It's irresponsible. And that's exactly what we did. We replaced that system. That building is now in a good situation for the next 25 years, based on that project alone.
Can you just quickly explain referendum expenditures compared to traditional maintenance and when it exceeds a certain threshold, when it has to go to referendum and why potentially costs can't be maintained?
A big piece of that is we have not passed a referendum for 50 years. So our tax rate has been the same for those 50 years. It's not generating enough money to get out of this hole.
Well, I was trying to answer her question where she said, why haven't these things occurred? Because the school district can't legally spend said money.
Well, I used to be a park commissioner, and I do know that I was in the position of being able to levy taxes. You are able to levy taxes every year at a certain rate. So they are getting money, and if you have other expenditures, yeah, you can levy the tax. There's a certain percentage that you can do that without having to go to a referendum. Whether or not they chose to do that over the years, I have no idea. I don't even know if we put any aside in the slush fund, because I know that happens too.
So then, to be frank, how can you say it's mismanagement?
I didn't say that. I was asking that question.
I misunderstood that.
That's all.
I thought you said earlier that
I
it's
just,
mismanagement.
like, moved here a few years ago. I used to live in Hinsdale, so I've been through this in
Sure.
Hinsdale. My taxes, were through the roof. I mean, they tried to put a new middle school in, and to be honest, I felt like the reason the referendums didn't pass, it took a long time, was because it started off with this nice big laundry list of everything that we would love to have. And the voters said, no, it's too expensive and you need to edit. You can't, you don't need this, you don't need this, like, get it reasonable.
Sure.
And I think that's kind of what these people are feeling here too.
Sure.
And I hate to say it, but most of the people here are probably over 65 and are, no, but I'm just saying, so they're on a fixed income. They're on a fixed, I'm not trying to insult the people in the room, but my point is, I'm with this gentleman here. I mean, there's only so much, my God, gas is $5 a gallon right now. Food prices are up. I mean, we're getting hit everywhere. So I hope you understand, this is why we're concerned.
What I would speak to, just briefly, is the way that the district has survived is simply off of working cash bonds. So the district has continually, for the last, again, if you go through that history, about the last 30 years, they've managed everything by issuing working cash bonds and life safety bonds. Those monies are not enough to build a school, not enough to really renovate a school. They're enough to do major construction every few years, which is how the high school was renovated, which is how the security projects went on in this building, Miller, the junior high. It's how we did the HVAC system at the junior high. But again, we only have capacity up to so much, and then we can't get any more. And where we're at right now, we don't have enough capacity to get that money to do this.
That's my paycheck.
I'm sorry, but when I want to do a project, I cut. I don't go out to eat. I cut expenses, I save, and I watch where my money goes. And I think at this point, it seems a lot of programs in this school, a lot of consultants, a lot of testing rather than teaching, and I think a lot of money goes out the window.
Hey, before you go any further, please, Keith, I want to say this. Let's take a couple of your issues, because you hit us with a bunch of things.
Yeah.
A lot of testing.
Yeah.
Do you know that this district is the #1 district in Illinois for student growth? #1. look at the data.
It's,
So,
man,
if
it's
what
state
we're doing
mandated
education,
testing, sir.
we're number
I'm sorry,
one
I'm a
in the
citizen
state.
and a teacher, so you are hitting me where it hurts.
So here's the thing I'm saying, you're making it seem like we're not using the funding responsible. Your return on investment for education is this thing. We are the most overachieving district in Illinois. We can provide all the data. So first of all, to say you're testing too much, I have to, having been an educator for close to 40 years and knowing the data, I'm gonna say, we'll take your second point, but to say you're over testing, we're getting better growth than anybody in the state. That's not an opinion, that's evidence and a fact. The second thing, let's say, and if this is what the community wants to do, which is where we're potentially headed, let's say that we cut expenditures by $1.5 million a year. What would that do to maybe start addressing the need for a new facility or completely renovating? It's not tenable, but let's just say, is this community willing to cut social workers, teachers, increase class sizes to the point because if you cut, Ron, we cut almost $600,000 in salaries this year. That's significant. So if the community, this is where we're headed, if the community keeps kicking the can down the road, we're gonna be forced to cut, you want us to cut $1 million in salaries? Is that, because that's what you're saying.
Well, you didn't
Cut
cut,
back.
they retired. I mean, that-
Well, no, that's what we did. People who
You're not-
retired, we did not replace. But to get to the kind of money that you're talking about, we'd have to cut $1 million. That's 7, 8, 9 employees. We cut 5 or 6 employees this year. We cut 3 or 4 the previous year. Can we cut? Yes. That's where we're headed. And with respect to this, I am sorry that whatever happened in the past, I'm in my 3rd year as superintendent. And within my 1st year, we tried to address this. But we're in a pickle because it's not the right time, it's not the right time, it's not the right time. And then if we would have built a building, which in 2011, it would have been paid off by now, and we would have a building with last another 30 years. But we chose not to. If we wait another 3 or 4 years for the economy to get better, the cost of the building is gonna go to $90 million, and your taxes are gonna be even higher. So this idea that we can cut to make this happen is just not feasible. And let me say one last thing. In this area, Ron, how many referendums have been passed in this?
In the last 25 years, it was like 46.
This is the vehicle, like it or not, and it is, we have to get taxpayer approval. But if I am being so sincere with you, we could cut, we did cut. We hear you, we want to be more fiscally responsible. Can we cut more? We can, but then we start cutting out, in this day and age, services to our kids. And I don't know if that's what the community wants. If we don't pass this referendum, that is what will happen, number one. But we almost can't cut enough to pay for a new building or major renovations. It's just not the financial, and here's the last thing I'll say, and I'm gonna listen to more. The mechanism is wise for this reason. Because you're concerned about spending, which I get it. But if they gave us so much money that we could afford to build a new building, there could be all kinds of potential for abuses. Jacking up salaries, hiring more employees. There comes a point, your annual budget is for your running of your school. You wanna build a new school or renovate, you gotta ask the taxpayers. But we can't really cut enough. And here's the thing, let's say, could you hypothetically? Sure, we could jack our class sizes up and double them. We could cut our social workers for kids who are in need. And then the school system tanks, and then the community will go backwards. That is what we're facing, for sadly or not. I wish it would have been addressed decades ago. It isn't, we find ourselves in this position.
Go ahead, you would go first, Chris, and then I'll guess mine.
So if you get the money, if the referendum passes,
Yes.
then do you have funds sufficient to maintain this new building? So in other words, you're talking about how you budget your money now, and I get this. I'm a lifelong resident here, and there was a referendum that passed when my my children were students here, and my children aren't 50 yet, so.
Well, wait, let's be real. When was that referendum passed? There's no referendum. The last referendum was.
Yeah, there was a referendum.
When was this? Please tell
Oh
us.
my God, it was when, I used to live on the south side and came to the north, it was when they were contemplating the 80 South School.
My dad was,
And it failed.
my dad was president of the school board, and they passed a referendum.
It failed a couple of times, but then it passed. But the thing is, my question to you,
There's a difference between the bonds and a referendum. There's no history of a referendum.
well, we called it a referendum, because I remember the.
Yeah, it was
that had the
based on,
referendum.
well, that's the technical.
That's neither here nor there.
Was it
My
in
question-
1986?
My question is, if you get the money
No,
to
it
build the
was, I
building,
wanna say it was 80.
can you maintain it? Without coming back to us again
So,
to say we've got this new
That's
building?
just correct, because we get like misinformation. You can speak to the, it's not a referendum that was passed. So,
But it's a fair question. So let's say the referendum passes, your concern is there gonna be another tax increase?
so
That's
In
a
other
fair,
words,
go
if you
ahead.
come to us and we give you the money,
Sure.
are you gonna be good to go, and are you gonna be able to work with that?
I would confidently say yes. Again, if you look at the buildings that we currently have right now, South School is in very good condition. It was renovated in the early 2000s. So South School is in very good condition. With what we did to the junior high with the HVAC project, we put that building in a very good place. With what we did with that project and everything that we touched, that building is in a very good spot for the foreseeable future. The money that we can get in life safety bonds and working cash bonds, if we're able to not have to deal with the elementary school with that money, we can use that money to maintain essentially the high school. The high school would become our cash cow after the elementary school is dealt with. With the money that we could get in life safety funds and working cash bonds and other avenues that we have, we can maintain that. We can maintain that without needing another referendum.
Cash flow would be adequate considering you're going from 2 buildings to 1, so that would be huge. It would actually be a tremendous benefit for safety.
Another example, just very quickly, the project that we did at the junior high, the following 2 years, the entire budget that was dedicated to service in that building was not touched. So again, that was money that was not used because of the project that we did. We had no needs of service for 2 years. So that money could get used to help Band-Aid this building as we're getting through this conversation. We've been spending a lot of money keeping this building operational in the time we've been having this referendum conversation. It's been about 4 years now. We've been stretching every dollar we can to deal with what we have to get through this situation.
Joe, I have a couple of questions about the maintenance stuff.
Sure.
What's the average that they budgeted year after year through the district for the maintenance on all the buildings? Like, is there a total that you guys have?
Yes, so, and I can tell you that in my time here, not a single year has that budget not gone over. In every
No,
one
but
of our.
I'm talking dollar amount, you have just off the top.
So this previous year, just speaking of the high school, for example, we budgeted $65,000 to our service account at the high school. That budget has gone over, it's at $99,000 currently.
Okay, I just wanted to ask you that, and then as far as this new building, what are you proposing for HVAC? I mean, is there anything about solar panels? Is there anything about using the Mitsubishi units so each teacher could literally, it's cheaper and it's more efficient, they're quiet, each teacher could monitor their own
Yeah.
classroom. If one's in the sun, they put on their air conditioner or turn
Right.
off their heat. I mean,
So-
what sorts of things, because I don't see that on your site either.
That's not necessarily designed yet. I'm partial to water. At the high school, we have water. At the junior high, we use water. So again, in my opinion, that's the best system to use for commercial heating and cooling. At the high school and the junior high, we have systems that heat the water with boilers, and then we have systems that chill the water. That, to me, is the best option. The Mitsubishi situations are new. They are very cheap to put in, but the design of them, I am not a fan of.
Okay, and I know people that have had them for years already, and
Right.
they are very efficient, you can
Yes.
program them to go on and off.
The dilemma that I have with it, is that it uses refrigerant for everything.
Okay.
So in our situation in schools, we're running water everywhere. If we have a leak, it's water coming out. With those situations, it's high pressure, flammable. Now they're using propane. So again, if you have a leak on that, you have a propane leak in the
So
school.
where are the estimates out there on the site for all the different
Okay,
things
so
that
the-
you're proposing for the building as far as the actual infrastructure,
Right.
classroom design, how much money you need for each classroom, that type of
So
thing?
it-
So you can be honest with us
Right.
and show us what.
So
what
on
you're
our
specifically
website, you'll find the board capitalized project list. That will tell you the estimated cost of every project. So the estimated cost of redoing the HVAC system in this building is estimated at $15 million. Because that HVAC system, again, it has to do HVAC, it has to do electric, it has to do a lot of cosmetic work. There's a lot that goes into that, but that is estimated around $15 million. Yeah,
At some point, you said that this building was pieced together, there's
Yes.
five pieces to it.
yes.
Are they separate on the HVAC and the other systems?
So-
And electrical, or is that all in one? whole
Yes,
thing?
so the original section of this building was 1928, then there was an addition in 1949, there's another addition in 56, and then another addition on the far north end in like the late 60s.
Was the electricity all tied into one as it was?
No,
built on? Or are they
no,
separate
so
parts?
we have two separate feeds to this building, so there's basically a south half and a north half.
So you couldn't do like a south half, redo the electrical when your north half do the electrical another year?
You could,
And
you,
fix it as that
Sure.
comes along?
you can, that's been explored. Again, a project like that is now gonna stretch into 3 to 4 years of continued construction in phases. There's a lot of student displacement, there's a lot of,
And I have one more thing to say.
Sure,
on
sure.
The whole thing about the budget and stuff, because I would build off of that myself. When you own a house, you budget your bills, you know
Right.
what your output's gonna be, and you know, in so many years, you're gonna need a roof, or you're gonna need, you know, new appliances, or you're gonna need something done, and you try to budget that money across. So what, I guess the question is, if the buildings are that old, then why at some point did somebody do something to update?
I will say this district has done what they can with what they've had. And again, I always tell people, just go to those timeframes, go to those timelines. It shows you the construction cost of every project in every building for the last 30 years. I put it together myself. It explains all the work that's been done. It kind of dispels the myth that the district hasn't been doing any construction or we haven't been doing things. Another example I'll give, when I first got to this district, I looked at the last 5 years prior to me getting here. And I looked at where is all the money going? What is our sleeping giants? What are the projects that we know we have to deal with? But where is all of our day-to-day money going? Where is all the immediate annual budget money going? And when we looked at that, a lot of it was going into the junior high HVAC system. A lot of it was going into, this may get over your head, but there's an automation system of the high school, which is my computer program that runs the HVAC. That was failing. And when, again, I don't want to get too in the weeds, but every piece of equipment in that building had a control board. When that control board went out, we had to replace it from one specific company. It was a proprietary system. So again, the first one that went out costed 12 grand. The second one that went out costed 15 grand. There was 2 more that they paid at $15,000. The last one we did was $17,000. And I said, you have got to stop doing this. You've got to replace the problem. And so that's what we did. We allocated our bond money to take care of our most important project that was costing us the most money. But within that, our list of the top 10 continues to fluctuate. Everything is getting older. Every technical thing in the buildings are getting obsolete. You get into these situations where you're stuck having to deal with it. And again, you can plan for everything until you're blue in the face, but if you don't have the money to manage that, it falls behind. And then when you try to have the conversations of a referendum to get out of it, it delays the process, that list gets bigger, more things get added to the top 10, and it just balloons. And year after year, in this case, decade after decade, it gets unmanageable to the point where we have to have a referendum to bail ourselves out.
Okay, one more question. I haven't been on the website yet. Does it have an itemized list? Like what we might get for this building and estimates to what it would cost for the property?
Yes.
And then what it would cost for the building and how long-term are we talking on the tax rate?
That, I believe, is on a different.
They were talking 30 years, I'll be dead.
Yeah, how many homes are in Westmont that are actually taxed, and how many, like, apartment buildings and stuff where you guys are gonna get the tax revenue, so that we kind of have a better idea? Because originally, we were told when it was the $90 or $95 million proposal, it was like $1,000 per resident. Now, I'm assuming it's about $700 per resident, based on what you've told us in the past, but where are the figures on how many homes are actually gonna, get this tax base? Like, how many homes do we have in Westmont, how many apartment condos that are?
We only go from 55th Street north.
Right, but how many homes are in that area that, so we can figure out how this affects us?
The tax go ahead, Ron, but the tax calculator is probably the best way to get an estimate on how much it will cost each resident, so that all of that is factored in. So the tax calculator, you can enter in your EAV and see the impact of taxes.
Well, I'm just talking like the 72 million divided about how many people.
The tax calculator is
It
built to
does
make
have
that
that,
happen.
okay.
And really quickly, I just wanted to discuss something really quickly. So there are limits to how much school districts can save. There's a public act actually out there, and I was looking for it, and I finally found it. So if we actually if we saved 2.5 times what our annual average expenses were over the prior 3 fiscal years, we actually have to file a formal reduction by the state. The state expects us to spend it down. So even when we try to save, the state will not allow it because they said that money was taxed for that current year. You're supposed to spend it for that current year. That's a state thing, that's not us.
Well, I was just gonna say, if you spent it, you wouldn't be in this debacle right now, but amongst these schools.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the biggest problems is fiscally responsible, knowing that these buildings are so old, you have to understand, you're gonna have to put money in it. And, I understand, I went through these school systems, I went to Miller, I went to the junior high, I went to the high school, I moved back here. But my kids went through parochial school because I knew they were gonna get a better education. I'm not picking on the public school, I went through it. And I went through college and I have a great life and a great job. But the thing that I look at the most is that we kowtow to some of these parents to do this, oh, I want this, I want that, I want this. Again, we need to be smart about building a school. It shouldn't take $72 million. I know that. I am in construction and I've seen 2 schools built in Elgin for under 48 million each.
What year was that?
It's happening now. The problem is, and they're big schools, they're not small. They're probably close to the size that you guys have. And those are bigger, they're big schools because they have a nucleus of probably about 800 kids. So, and we have, we're talking maybe 600? A little over 600? I'm just saying, we gotta do our homework. We can't just sit there and beg us and say, you taxpayers gotta pay for this. The one thing that's the most important, if you told us, if we had total transparency, you told us what you guys are putting in that building, from what screw to what TV, and you let us know, I bet you'll probably get a lot more people on board.
Do you know how much money we would have to pay to get that engineer, architect, design?
Do I know? It's a lot.
Right.
I know
So-
exactly what it is.
So should we spend that money ahead of the referendum ask? I would say like in a situation
Well,
where.
here's one thing, you guys already spent tons of money, with these plans and with all this other stuff that you had.
But I have a question for you. Would that be the fiscally responsible thing
Right.
to spend that? Because you're talking about fiscal responsibility.
I'm not asking you to spend money to show me. I wanna, you guys
wanted the
have a
detail.
plan,
No,
don't
you wanted the
you? Or
detail.
you're just saying, you're throwing a piece of snot at the wall, hopefully it sticks. It's 72 million, we know we can get that school in. And then do some other stuff, other good stuff for the high school, for the junior high. And then do we still have South as part of our program here?
Yes.
Or is that, yeah, and that's for special needs, right?
No,
No.
preschool.
Oh, it's the preschool. So obviously, that's the other thing. I mean, we want to be.
Sir, did you follow the last two referendums that failed?
Yeah,
Because there were all, like,
I know
we
there were.
went through all the planning, they talked about exactly how much it would cost. They did
No,
all
no,
of
they-
that
they
research.
gave an
Why
idea.
should we-
No.
No, that's
They-
not true. There was a plan. There was an architecture firm, we
Construction firm?
brainstormed, there were construction plans, all of it was done. And then it was no, and so now you're asking it to be done all over again, when we already have a really, pretty good idea of how much it will cost. And for
And
you to
again-
say that the public, I'm sorry, I am a teacher. I
I'm
have
picking
two
on
sons who
you.
just graduated. I just graduated 53 seniors from Westmont High School. And they are going to Princeton, and they are going to UIUC, and they are going to USC on scholarships.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because of the
Education.
education that they're getting in this district. And they are going into the Navy, and they are going into HVAC work. They are doing wonderful things because this district supports all the learners.
All of the schools. It's not
But
just.
we
West.
live here, and we need to fix it here. I know it's expensive.
But in fairness, I'm gonna tell you, this is exactly what happened. I didn't even know there was a school referendum because I don't have children in the school district. I didn't know until I got something in the mail that was talking about having a thing like this. Do you know when I got it? After the vote. After the vote happened. How did that happen? Why didn't the mailers, I actually got my mailer for this meeting at 5 o'clock this afternoon. Why didn't those go out a week ago?
I'll just say this.
But
and
that's, so I wanna tell you though, my hands were tied.
How long have you lived here?
I've only lived here 7 years.
Okay.
And
I've lived here
so,
close to 30, put my kids through all these schools, and I'll be quite frank with you. If you haven't seen or haven't had enough exposure to this town to understand that we've had a challenge with these buildings, I'm sorry, but it's evident. When we went through this referendum, and I worked very diligently with the school board, and quite frankly, we toured people through the buildings, we had multiple,
but I didn't get that,
Well,
I
There
didn't
were
get
signs
notification
all
for
over
that.
the village.
we had
They
posted
were
signs all through
everywhere.
the
They
building.
were in every single
So we
school.
can't say we failed because we missed one person. And we know it's
No,
not.
actually, you missed all my
Let me
neighbors
speak.
because they had a big discussion about
You had a
it.
chance. That is a goal, if you've listened over the last few years, the goal of this board is to reach. And knowing that it's hard, because everybody's not on social media. A lot of people don't want mail, they say they toss it. We hear all the things. And so there is an attempt. Are we at 100%? No. But there's signs out. We ask businesses not to make a decision, put information out. There's always a lot that you can do. So I just don't want people to put it out there like,
To generalize.
generalize that we're not trying. The effort is there. I know we're not reaching 100%.
Well, your
but
effort
you're
may be
continuing-
there,
because
but
we got- but we
unfortunately,
got
it is
to you.
missing
We
people.
got to you.
It is missing.
We got
people.
to you.
You got to me today
That's awesome,
at
'cause
5
we're-
o'clock in the afternoon.
It's reaching,
When
it's
I was,
growth.
no,
And that's what we're reaching
you should have
for.
reached me last week so I could have.
I want to reach 100% of the people.
Look how few
That's
people
it.
are
We
here.
get phone calls.
Well,
But I have a totally different question.
I'm saying, so
I
no,
have
let
a
me
totally
finish
different
speaking.
question.
Let
It
me
has
finish
nothing to
speaking.
do with that.
that's the time, let me finish speaking. I want to say as a village, I want to speak to something else, that it takes a lot, there's so many different ways. I don't think we spoke to it today, but we were speaking about the bond capacity and using money to fit. We say Band-Aids a lot. So there's a plan, and we all know it as a homeowner. There's a plan, I'm gonna grow my money, schools don't work that way. But, okay, I'm gonna fix this, pipes first. And so you're dealing with things like that, and then you're consigned for how funding goes to schools. So the bonding is our credit card. We're maxed out. But there are different ways to look at that too. So there's different ways that the taxpayer benefits. The benefits to the village trying to help us. So we're trying to get, because that doesn't benefit parents and school children, that benefits the village. We're trying to work with all those ways. And we did speak to, I don't know if Ron can speak to it, if we actually can affect our tax rate by not using our credit cards all the time. But we still have to ask the taxpayer for a referendum. But we actually can help our rates come down if we stop using the credit card that we have to use. The building is here and functioning, and we have kids going to Princeton because Joe and the maintenance staff keeps this building running. Because what happens when you shut it down and you say the kids can't come? Then we're scrambling, kids are not getting educated. So I just don't want to give that picture that nothing was being done. No research was being done. We have experts that are brought in, so it's not just me. I'm not in construction. I don't say what costs what. We have I wanted it from someone in construction with schools that looks all over DuPage County and counties around. We asked, what are they paying? They're paying. There's apples and oranges because their tax rate may be better. They're getting things from their businesses that we don't get. We looked at so much respect, the experts that we have in here, and I just don't want the implication that homework wasn't done. Because this has been talked about before even the R word referendum came up. What's the history? Just take a look at all that.
I'm just saying, I didn't get the answer, that's his issue. But my other question is this, and this is to what she said. If you get the money, if the referendum passes, just like you can have things happen when you're renovating, you can also have issues happen when you're doing new construction. And like, I do not know anything about this. When school districts decide to go into that endeavor, how are these contracts written with the people who are gonna build the school? Like, if there's something that happens and they go over and you say, oh my gosh, we don't have money for that because you didn't get enough money from the referendum that you asked for, like, how does that all play out?
You build in contingencies to it. So, standard contingency for normal construction is about 10%. You add to the project to cover exactly what you referred to. That money sits there, that money gets used for emergencies, that money gets used for change orders, that money gets used for immediate things that come up, unknowns, X, Y, Z. With a project of this, you're gonna use a higher contingency. You're gonna build in a higher contingency to cover more unknowns, more, again, when you're building a building, you can't design it to the 10th degree until you get into it. And even if you did design it to the 10th degree, it's not the same when you start digging into it.
And ma'am, I'd like to speak, because in the past district that I was at, when we were doing a $45 million project, I negotiated a guaranteed maximum price so that it was not to exceed. And that was even after the punch list was going through, and that's when they got their final payment, and we withheld like crazy because I was not satisfied. I completely agree.
Can I just ask a rhetorical question? In a perfect world, what do you guys want to see happen? Do you want to see the schools continue to just be maintained regardless of how much that costs? Or do you want to be able to contain that cost and have at least predictable maintenance costs for the long term? So in the perfect world, what do you want to see?
In a perfect world, I'll tell you, my children went through this district, and my children are very high functioning. At a time when nobody was throwing around the names you're throwing around. My son's class was one of the smallest classes at the high school, 96 students. and there are several doctors, attorneys, very high-functioning class, but crippled. There was no AP credit. There was nothing to offer these kids. My son took AP on his own with an English teacher who had an interest in helping them. There wasn't a lot of curriculum that was offered to my daughter who happened to go into the arts because there weren't enough students to offer a broad curriculum. So my question is, again, if we give you this money, have you done your research? Are you going to have enough of a student body to continue to have this high of a ranked high school and to offer the children that are in there some of the opportunities that they get at some of the larger high schools?
The real question you're asking is, can the maintenance cost should actually go down because we're reducing the number of buildings? We'll
It's
have a
not
new
even
building.
so much the maintenance, so you have this budget, so you've done your research for the facilities, you've got the brick and mortar part.
Yes.
Have you looked at, and I know there's no guarantee with growth of students, body, you don't know from year to year, I understand how that works, but are you building for a certain size body to where you're not putting all your eggs in this brick and mortar basket, to where all of a sudden now you get 5-10 years down the line and now the enrollment has dwindled such that you can't offer?
Absolutely, we are building for what we're anticipating, which is, and there's some good latitude there. So we're building the new facility that's proposed for 600 students.
For 600.
So that's 100 students per class. Now, if it would go up 10%, you would still probably need the same number of classrooms.
So
If
how
it
many
goes
do you have
down,
now between Miller and Manning?
there's 600 students
Oh, so
approximately.
you're building for what you have today?
Yes, we're building for what we have today. We're not building big, we're building the same number of classrooms. It could absorb a 10% increase, or could still be functional with the 10% decrease.
If our population changed, and if some of us that are older were no longer here and more younger families moved in, that 600 is probably not gonna be enough long-term, as more younger and younger families want to live here.
On top of this, is what they're planning to do with the downtown area. Population growth should go high. Millennials are not, whether they're gonna have kids or lots of kids. But their plans to take all this and rezone it all the way from, I think, Norfolk here all the way down, they're rezoning everything to 55th. Their intentions are to grow this town like downers is with apartments, condos. The whole thing is that things are, if what they do happens, the congestion will grow. I would think student body would grow too, but you gotta look at the whole big picture of what they're trying to do. And the thing is, you're gonna invest in that building, $70 million now. Let's look into what they're doing here with the city board to find out if you really need to grow or not. Because if they start building like they did in Downers, you've got an absolute, they don't do a car show there anymore. They have no room left. And they gave the sidewalks to the businesses to have a place for people to sit outside.
And eat, right?
Yes, I understand growth and revenue is important. That revenue is great to the school district too. Their purpose is the revenue more than anything, but also to gain that prestige that the town has.
So what would the solution be, to build a bigger elementary building? Because I mean, either we build a bigger one to anticipate that growth, or we
You need to
build
have
one.
contingencies when you build that, but you're gonna add another hunk on a ship, because you increase the crew. Or you don't have it, you don't have to worry about it. It's called foresight.
Right, so.
And you wanna be ahead of the game, like this has been added 4 times. No one ever projected, well, a building should have a structure, like a building block, you know?
The plan does have room for expansion in the future, the Miller Coach.
Yeah, I understand that they need to, but maybe not as big as they think. Look at the future, what if they do start building with the way the economy is?
The one thing I'll say, the Quincy Street station that went in recently we're not getting a ton of students out of that development. It's very minimal how many kids are in that building that come to the school. Well, we do, I mean, we know the addresses. We don't have, there's not a lot of students that come out
And
of
we can
that.
absorb a little bit bigger and a little less, but we're building on projections. Here's one thing I would ask people to consider, I think it's fair. 44, 45 referendums. Every community around us almost has passed one. Either they made a mistake by doing that, or they were all hoodwinked. Well, we're like the last of the Mohicans here. We're like the only ones who haven't done it, and that's kind of why we're in this position. So I understand it's not easy. It makes me sad, actually. But either they're all wrong, or we're the ones who are, it's our time. I don't know how else to say it. Why would 40 other referendums pass in this area if it wasn't necessary? This is the way that schools are financed in Illinois, for better or for worse. You might find an outlier exception where a community builds a building without going to referendum, but over 90% of the time, we are relying upon our taxpayers to help build that building.
But some of your neighbors are more affluent. They've got more, they've got more money to be a little more discretionary with, so they also put it there.
They also have a lot more industry, they have a lot more commercial property.
The other thing too is, if you look at our tax rate, what you're taxed in this community, and I understand, I'm happy for this. We are taxed in the bottom third, not in the middle, and certainly not on the higher end.
What are you talking?
Yeah,
We're over, we're not talking percent.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a huge difference.
7.5, you know, it's not.
But I'm still trying to figure out in a perfect world, for example, what do you want to see happen in a perfect world? In this situation, when we're talking about schools? Because I still haven't really heard that.
Okay. And like I said, I still haven't heard what you guys plan to do with 72
Okay,
million.
but I'm asking a question of, in a perfect world, what would you like to see?
I'd like to know what the budget is truly gonna be. What's the footprint? Is it similar to what you guys did?
We have.
I want to answer your questions as directly as possible.
Yeah.
So we didn't just pull this out of a hat. We're working with Nicholas, which is a major,
I know Nicholas. Yeah.
pretty well respected for what they do. They came up with these estimates. And Leggett Architects. So Leggett and Nicholas, pretty reputable firms. We're building a building of approximately 90,000 square feet. They are estimating almost $800 all in, with their fees, with FF&E, with all new construction costs to build a new building. That's how the number 72 million was arrived.
Went up $300 since the last referendum?
No,
What?
No, it did not. No. The last
500 was 500 something last year.
And once again, I mean, Nicholas and Leggett will be at subsequent meetings, but we didn't hire just like, a brand new rookie firm. We hired very reputable firms. I'll just speak for myself. I'm not an expert on what square footage cost is. I would never give you an estimate. I don't know those things. But I think Nicholas does. They do this for a living. Leggett does. These are highly reputable firms who do this all the time. They're giving us these numbers. It's not just coming off the top of my head. I wouldn't do that. So when they tell us 90,000 square feet, we're not overbuilding, we're not underbuilding, $800 a square foot comes to 72 million. And that's the number. I don't know how more direct or specific it could be. And once again,
That helps, that's
good.
Is that,
Keith,
does that include, I think we've heard from you, like, I think your answer, and it could be an answer for many people. You're saying, are you saying to, cut education? And continue to maintain these buildings, because that's what you're saying, well, I'm saying,
When you say we're
work with our
gonna
budget. Because one question we asked, should we renovate?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
renovate knowing that
Yes.
you watch construction shows. They open up and say, oh, you can see it all the time. Oh, you got this in your walls, you got asbestos, that's gonna cost you another $5 million. And you was thinking of, do we know with new construction, can we, we don't know, you know, we can't predict, but can we, with our estimates and being responsible, can we say that we're being responsible not to come back to the taxpayers? We can say, I need to build another building, as opposed to renovating, and we open up something, we got a set amount, community said yes to 40 million, and we go, uh-oh, we found this, we have to get rid, they're telling us this cost, go back to your community and ask for 10 million. So now, like that is more likely than with new. So I'm saying, like, we asked about renovating, I think we had choices, we had, I know everybody didn't hear, but we asked the community, there were phone calls, do you want to maintain and continue to do what we can just to keep our buildings how they are? We want to renovate, so do not say do nothing, but trying to like manage in a budget the things that are going, even though they're outlawed or not in code, keep doing what we're doing and hope, do we renovate, do we build it? So we asked all those things, but I think the question is, and that's your answer if it's your answer, are you saying that in a perfect world, we don't want you to do anything and continue to try to get money here and there, and you know, we can't do any construction with $4 million, yeah, we can do some fixing, but what is your guidance for?
I think education needs to stay where it's at. We've always had, you know, top-rated schools, and even when I worked in the district for 13 years, and my kids went to school, and I know a lot of these people in the community that kids have, and we've always been proud of it. And a lot of the support staff, 98% of them at one point were parents of kids who were in the school. So we have a pride here in Westmont, and we want to see the education stay at a high level. But I think we just want to know that our tax dollar, every dime, is going to be used wisely and efficiently to create something that will be there for time. Because even when Joe was saying about a $14 million HVAC system, okay, but that cost $14 million for the junior high. How long is that guaranteed for? And in 10 years, are they going to need another one? And what's going to be budgeted for that? That's my concern, that if we haven't been putting aside some tax revenue, and I know we can't save it, but if we haven't kind of been maintaining and looking at things like that and budgeting for each thing that might come up every 10 years or 5 years, that's a concern.
Well, didn't you say 25 years with the new HVAC system at the middle school?
25 years is the life of the boilers themselves.
Oh, okay.
So everything else in there, the pumps, the piping, that's all, pumps have about a 10 to 15-year lifespan. But again, you're talking about, that's actually maintaining the system, which again, once you put it in, you maintain it, it does not cost you the humongous cost that a replacement does.
It just, I don't expect you to memorize all these numbers, but the HVAC was like 7 million and some
Yeah,
change.
seven.
I'm not expecting you to memorize those things.
No, I saw them putting them on.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
and again, when you think about what that project has done for the district, you multiply that times 10 with a new building, where our biggest problem right now is this building. If this is off of our problem area, money can get spent elsewhere, you can maintain something, as opposed to needing full replacements with everything. And I know cuts are what everyone goes to. If we cut 10 teachers making $100,000 each, it does not do our most necessary project. The most needed project is the gym roof. To replace it is $1 million in itself. Cutting 10 teachers doesn't even get you the roof project done. The cost of what we need far outweighs cutting programs. It doesn't add up. You need a humongous pot of money at this point.
And did you say there was going to be a reduction in staff when it's down to one building? What staff is going to get cut?
Pardon?
What staff would get cut?
Well, if you have one, you might not need as many secretaries because you have one. You might need not as many librarians, as an example, because you have one library, you might need 2 people instead of 3 or 4. You might not need as many administrators, so you could maybe reduce by 1. There would be some economies of scale. So
I mean, we're estimating total of about $600,000 in annual savings there, maybe a little bit more. I don't want to overestimate. That is something we couldn't do if we renovated. So cumulatively, over time, that adds up.
And then if they do, construction here, they make it apartments or whatever,
Yes.
and there'd be more revenue coming from that, would that eventually decrease the amount that, in the end run, that we have to be paying taxes then? Or is that said that would have never given them? I'm just saying,
Doesn't work that way.
It would just be new additional. It would be like adding $800 to the current tax roll,
And
or
then would that go
$800,000.
into another fund then, or would that go into the building fund?
I think
Increase
it-
would be used for maintenance?
I think it depends on how it gets set up from the tip side or the village side of that.
Yeah, we would ensure that we do have the funding available. I mean, I feel confident actually now that even just closing one school would save us, so that we could provide maintenance for a brand new building. So it wouldn't even require this land.
I have a question. Is there, to see that, I'm having a hard time looking at something like this. I can't read it. Is there any way that somehow you could put out a pamphlet? And instead of doing that, you do that and let me flip page by page and we talk about it instead of just da-da-da. The next thing, is there somewhere in this pamphlet a place where you could show me what our current year's budget is, what our budget is, what we're actually spending, and what the proposal is by category? Maintenance, schoolyard, ground, I mean, just everything in general. Like he said, I'd like to see, are we putting tile on the floors, or are we putting carpeting on the floors? That kind of stuff, to see if my money is gonna be put where it should, what I think it should.
Okay, a couple of things. We could produce a paper pamphlet, we could print one out, or we could print them out. But if, you could go online to our website and then you'd have a better visual.
I was just trying.
Can I ask you, so before anyone leaves, if you can scan the QR code, you can scroll down, click on presentations, and you will have not only the presentations, but every recording from every meeting we've ever had.
But a presentation does me no good, because I cannot ask Mr. Balderman here a question. I cannot ask Joe something. But if I'm sitting in this meeting, listening to you guys talk, and oh my God, here's a question I have, I can ask right then.
So you're suggesting just printing out the presentation and having it ready for you when you, okay?
And giving me a budget,
Okay.
so that way, as you're going through your presentation, I can look at what I'm doing. I can't see that, I'm sorry.
I'm not speaking to that, I don't, because I think we get into paper and printing and things like that, but like, you know how we do the district registration, like in the meetings having, I guess we can have some printed, but having a computer that people can tap on.
Sure.
Like several, for the people that want to see it and look through it, because you want it in real time, you want to kind of go through it real time during the presentation.
I want to look at it either here
I
or
think
take it home and look at it.
I think it's hard to figure like what to print and what everyone wants. That's why we try to do it electronically. So you may want the budget, you may want the capital plans, that's like several pages. So trying to get to everybody what they want, it may be easy for us to supply something in front of you that you can click.
But if I'm not computer savvy, I need.
We will print some moving forward. Thank you for the
The other thing is,
feedback.
if
We
you
can,
think about
that's
budget,
easy.
by law, we have to publish every budget every year with detailed items. I mean, I wouldn't be excited about looking at that, but if you wanted to, every single budget that we have, by law, we have to put on our website, and it's accessible to the world.
I've never seen that.
where would they, there's a tab on, by law, it's required that public schools have to publish their budget on a website. And if you go to our school district's website, you can go to our budget and see every line item.
Okay, will this also include the proposed budget? We build the new school, after selling this, will it have a budget for what I'm going to be spending my money on once the school's?
I appreciate your question. I want you to think about what you're asking. Every year, the business manager in conjunction with the school board and the whole district goes through a process to create a budget every single year.
Yes.
And there's an open forum, board meetings, online documents, so that's done every year. I'm not familiar with the school district that projects years out what the budget would be. Now, if you're asking about, we would live within that budget, but the budget for this project, and I think sometimes less is more, I'll say to him and the gentleman asked, the numbers that we've come from through the experts and all we have details, but the budget for the project is based on 90,000 square feet, $800 a square foot, 72 million. That's that piece. And then there are details. The annual budget's developed, and that is completely online in every single detail. Everything.
I'm talking like, right now, you do a budget for the district.
Yes, after.
Miller, Manning, and South. One category. We're getting rid of Manning. And I would like to see a budget with South and this new proposed Miller. How much you anticipate to spend annually by category.
So are you talking about like a referendum budget, sort of?
Kind of, yes. Yeah, I would like to see how much we're gonna save with the new school building versus what we're spending with all of the school district as it is now. Versus what the budget was. Because I'm sure we have to take from Paul and pay Peter in a lot of the different categories. But I would like to see, if I'm gonna spend that kind of money, if we're really saving money.
The honest answer is,
Didn't Joe say we would save $600,000 a year?
That's fine, but where is the savings? Is it in air
You want it itemized?
Yes.
well, here's.
By category, not itemized.
An honest answer is this. We won't see the savings until the budget is developed. And the budget is developed on an annual basis based on needs. And it's done on an annual basis. It's never done like, you couldn't do it like 2, 3, 4 years out. You could have projections. But the estimate, a fair estimate, is that if we had one building instead of two, the reductions we're giving you a projection here that we're trying to be cautious, is approximately 6 to 7 positions that would not be needed in the new building. We would, due to attrition and retirement. So that's where we're projecting the savings.
Okay, so I'm using a budget. I should have said projections.
Yes.
Based upon what you're saying. I would like to see.
All of our budget, revenue expenditure is always available online for the website. And it's developed for the current year. I don't know the district that does a budget 2 or 3 years in advance.
Oh, I don't want it 2 or 3 years in advance, but if you're telling me that the new school is gonna be ready in 3 years, you've got to anticipate it. Budget,
There's projections, yes.
projection, not a budget. That's all I would like to see is what
Do
are we
we
saving?
publish the projections or no?
No, but we can put something together.
That's what I would like to see.
Projection.
And the other thing,
Here.
we ought to send out notices a week in advance instead of the day of.
Well, there's other meetings on that So there's more than a week in advance for those meetings.
Right.
And we kind of scheduled this one quickly to try to get before the school year was out. So this was kind of last minute, I get it. But there's other meetings that are projected in the coming weeks. I think the 15th and the 16th.
Yeah, we just planned these meetings a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, so.
But if you planned it a week and a half ago, why did they wait till today to get delivered?
Well, I mean, we worked as quickly as we possibly could, but we just scheduled these
It's
meetings.
okay though, you
and
came, right?
Yeah, but I walked across the street.
Yeah, well,
Now,
the thing
somebody that
is,
goes
for
too
people
much.
who couldn't come tonight, there's the 15th and the 16th.
Yes,
And there've been 3 already.
yeah.
There's been 3 already, but yes,
The town hall meetings?
yes.
There's
I
three.
I got a postcard in the mail.
I did today.
I got one for the 3 previous ones.
You're a teacher. You're not again.
No, I live in Oakwood. I got it at
I
my
do too,
point.
I didn't get that.
Well, I have to say that we're doing better than we were before, so we will keep on working.
Because the last time
I
I
saw
knew,
it
the
on the
marquee is the
building.
only place I saw the.
Well, if you get the money for the new building, other than just the building, is there other things that are on your, that are also included in the new building for these children to have, like, are
Are
there,
we taking the chairs?
are there new computers, are there other things
That's
other
something-
than a building
Yeah,
that we're
so-
not aware of, or?
The per square foot.
No, I'm looking for my pen.
That number we gave you is inclusive of all what they call FF&E, the cost of hiring a construction firm, the cost of hiring an architectural firm, the desks, the computers, all those things are wrapped into that square footage number.
Okay,
Playground, parking lot.
yeah.
The whole thing.
The whole
And
kit.
for people that want to know more, like, we can't get too far ahead of ourselves, but I did ask this when we asked experts to come in. Okay, we have to get tests for it, we can't get, we have these projections, we don't have all the details that goes into that. But you pass a referendum, there's a whole, more meetings that start to get into the nitty-gritty for the people that want to. Are you gonna carpet? Are you doing what computers? That comes, and you can't really answer that now, because we need to solve the big, huge, we want to, but we just can't get into that.
The
But that
construction,
is part of, when we ask the experts, like, say we do, are there community involvement or what goes into that building, what we do? Transportation, how we look at that, we involve the fire department, the police department. You can't do that. Yeah, we have some proposals, we have them there, but we can't even build it much more detail to ask the community. And so, and then you see, the technology you can see, you can get down to very details, like, okay, I wanna see this part of it, what are you looking at, why are you doing carpet as opposed to all of those things, say, what they've done in the past, because they, architects have worked all across the region, and they have done things like that instead of, if we never get to that point, yes, I think community members would be interested in trying to chime in for those details. We really can't get there yet.
Okay, I just didn't know, like, iPads or all
Yeah.
that stuff was also part of that number.
Yes, it's a good question.
How much is the desks and computers and stuff? Because that's stuff that the computers you fill out in 5 years. Desks, you already have desks. I'm just curious, what's the construction cost? Is that?
so the way that they kind of estimate everything at this point is what they call budget engineering. So essentially, everything that they're factoring for a cost is based on square footage, labor, how much of it, what kind of material is it, it's all kind of budget engineered at that point. So what they've told us is like to figure for classroom furniture. Each classroom, they give you $15 per square foot as
Out of the 800.
Well, so basically, if you have a room of 1,200 square feet, they divide that by 15 and then give you an estimated furniture cost. So they do that for everything, for carpeting, for flooring, for all of that. They all have calculations that give them a square footage cost. And then each construction company, that formula is their business model. Like their entire design of their company is to estimate construction for you. So their formula and their calculations is what their entire business is based on. So the closer that they are at that is the better, the closer that they can estimate is a sign of how good they are as a company.
Okay, I just watched referendum after referendum go down in flames here. And my son probably won't move here because nobody likes the schools in this town. And if this thing fails because you included textbooks and computers and chairs and shit in the cost, and the marginal difference is the region that it fails, because there was a guy here that was complaining about Elgin. I looked it up on my phone, and they're spending $65 million, and that was budgeted 2 years ago, and construction goes up 10% a year. So I don't think we're out of line. But if people are beating you over the head with things like that, then why not just build the damn school and buy the computers, have someone that actually knows about computers buy the computers instead of.
Well, we do. I mean, we have people who know what they're purchasing for.
Okay, I'm saying is, they don't want to go down in flames, is all I'm saying.
Right. Essentially, you're asking us to build the building and then carry the furniture from here into the.
Yeah.
Yeah, computers are
great
not
idea.
included in the all-in, I need to clear that up.
Right.
You don't have to throw it away then.
Right. A lot of it can, but a lot of it can't. A lot of the stuff that is in the classrooms here is built-in furniture. That's not coming with us.
But are you asking whether in that number, those things are part of the projections, and you're saying, let's take them out and let's.
Yeah, I'm just
take it out of the
saying,
building?
we don't have a great success record here in Westmont, funding our schools. And I think that if you can take stuff out that's gonna be obsolete in 5 years anyway, or that maybe the teacher should have a say in what kind of computers go into the classroom, then yeah, have them be a part of a different budget. Maybe the operating budget, not the construction budget.
I don't know if you heard.
So computers are not part, I don't know, computers are not part of the budget. So when we say all in, it would be like furniture would be included.
I heard computers said.
Yeah, no computers are included. We have a technology budget for computers
Okay.
that's already budgeted for, that we replace them every year.
Yeah, okay.
Well, we don't replace them every year, but we
Yeah.
replace them as needed.
Yeah.
So it's already in a technology budget. So this all-in number does not include
Okay.
stupid devices.
All right, that's fine.
And anything that was usable technology in this building would go to the next one. We wouldn't just throw everything we have, we wouldn't just throw it away.
Yes.
But a lot of stuff would stay with this building. What is useful to us is gonna come with.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
We're past 8 o'clock, which is, I'm very grateful for people's time. You can be a lot of places and they're here because you care about the community, and I really appreciate that.
When would the referendum be?
Well, the process is that we would have to propose to the school board that we put it on ballot, and then the school board has to vote yes on that.
Okay, just don't do it on the election where half of the people in town hate the other half's guts. And then put it, seriously, I mean, putting it in the election that we had, the presidential election was not the brightest thing.
Well,
Devil's advocate,
Is the intention to put it on the midterm ballot?
yes, that's a possibility.
Okay,
No
and I'd
decision's
like-
been made.
And I'd like to mention to you, while I've been sitting back here, I was Googling around, the last time we passed a tax levy was 1986.
A tax levy is not a referendum. though.
Well, we called it, I apologize, we called it a referendum, and I'll be very frank with you. I lived on the south side, and the threat was, if you don't pass this, your neighborhood school is closing. And that was the big push. You gotta keep South School open, you gotta pass this thing. And I believe it failed twice and passed on the third time. Or it failed once and passed on the
We're not
second
trying
time.
to
What's making the press?
So 30 years ago.
I mean,
Or,
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't born. I wasn't born.
Yes, we know that.
But I wasn't born. I wasn't born yet.
Thanks,
But that's, I think, the bigger issue is the fact that we haven't had a referendum in my lifetime. Whether or not it's 40 years or 50 years, it's a long time.
Right. We've had
Yeah,
challenges.
it is, but it's also for you. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
Well, I mean,
It's the people
I've
that
been
came
able to
before
vote-
you
I've been able to vote
that,
still for
it's the people that
20
came
years.
before us that kicked the can down the road.
Speaking
And that's why we apologize
Right.
for saying, you know, not apologize for saying we can't say what happened. I wasn't a community member.
Right.
Like you said, but.
Well, part of the appeal of this referendum, even though it's very expensive, is you're maintaining that neighborhood school vibe. The neighborhood schools here have been a big deal, a real big deal. And to lose this school is gonna be a big deal. But at least you're gonna have a neighborhood school still.
Would you
Maybe
prefer
that's
they
what
knock
we-
down both and put two brand new ones in both, and we spend 125, 130?
No.
You sure? Because I like that idea, because then everybody can walk to the schools, which was a big complaint about Time Warner, even though it's Preston, a gorgeous park.
But a lot of people, sorry to interrupt, but a lot of people, even at that very first meeting we had, Jack, right, up in the room up here, a lot of the parents came from this area and said what a nice area it was and that they bought here because they wanted their kids to be able to walk to school. And that
So
was the
would
best
that-
part about.
What about the
each
2%
neighborhood.
that they want that too? But that's not the truth.
No, and I'm just saying that, you know, that we always have been that type of a community, south.
Well, in response to what you're saying, I appreciate that. This is how we got to
I
this
know, I
position.
understand.
I think we are listening. We did make an adjustment. We are looking at the location. So,
You asked
speaking
my
for
opinion
South
on what I.
It was probably the best school my children went to, all the way through college. My son went to Stanford, and I can say that South School was a better school. So it was a great school, and having that little local neighborhood school made that neighborhood. Boy, that was great.
That's what I'm saying, it's a village.
You asked my question, or you asked the rhetorical question of what would be the best solution in our.
Perfect world,
opinions.
perfect world,
Perfect
yeah.
world? Look, if you're telling me in 20 years, we're gonna have another referendum for the high school, so I mean, that's not, well, just hear me out, hypothetically, right?
Clearly, I don't think we would. I don't think we would.
Huh?
I don't think we would need one.
Hypothetically,
Sure.
right? We all know how old I am. Disclose that.
No, we don't, but we know you weren't born in 1986. We don't really know how old you are, but that doesn't
20
matter.
years, you'll be my age.
Right. I'd rather spend $125 million and have one school at like the site of the high school and have it be a K or a pre-K through 12 and have it just be one full swoop and not have to spend money again. Like if you're asking my best all in, the price of money now is going to be cheaper than the price of money in 20 years. Now, I will also admit, I'm in a different life place than a lot of the residents. So is my best, not necessarily the best for everybody. But if you're asking the question of what I would like to see, two extremes.
But wouldn't you be a little concerned with some of those kindergartners with the high schoolers? I mean.
No, so I'll
there's
fully
a lot
admit
of- There's a lot of difference in like high schoolers of this generation than even,
I think you can have one campus building and not necessarily have it be one connected, like, you use similar facilities, right? You have,
So you're thinking like a school campus kind of
That's
situation?
I appreciate what you're saying, but there is a point about separating kids. Here's the other thing. We have a very, it's a very functional high school. It's working for us. And I think that if we made this move, we don't need another high school for at least 20 to 25 years. When these bonds would be retired, and the community could think about doing something at that point in time.
right, I'm trying to have that foresight to not have to do it in 30 years. Again,
But the idea of, here's the thing too, I think people, because we of course looked at the numbers too, and we know the impact on the taxpayers, and we're very cognizant of that and kind of concerned about it, to almost double that, I think would choke a lot of people. I'm not saying this is gonna be a sacrifice, and I'm not saying maybe long-term, but to build a school where one's not needed, this one is needed. And I appreciate what you're saying, but to not use a perfectly good high school and build a new one, and to ask people to pay almost double what we think is already gonna be a sacrifice. I do appreciate what you're saying, but
Well, because here's the other thing, you get to sell Miller, you get to sell Manning, you could probably sell South at that point.
this is the interesting thing. we think the value of Miller and South,
It's not that much.
no, it's a drop.
I get it. It's a
$3
residential
million,
neighborhood.
maybe, for both of them, that's mean.
Well, you could also potentially sell the junior high. Again, it's an idea.
Yeah.
You asked the question of, what's my,
I should have opened the Pandora's box.
that is in my ideal, either that, or the FAQs ask about consolidation of districts. And it says that it's convoluted, I think was what the website says. Convoluted to me is a word. And it doesn't actually go into, has this actually been looked at with you've got, obviously you've got 60, you've got 181, you've got whatever Downers is, you've got 83 and whatever Downers is as well.
It's ironic to me that that's even a consideration. First of all, convoluted means you have to get the people of this district to agree to close the schools, and then simultaneously, the district you'd be joining would have to accept them. Now, let's say that they did that. First of all, our tax rates are lower.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
Yes,
No, they are 100%. I guarantee you the tax rate, the dollar amount is lower because the value of the home is lower, but the actual rate, if I were to compare me living in 201 compared to me on the same house value living in 181 and 83, I would actually pay a lower rate.
Okay, let's agree to disagree on that for a moment. Let's just.
The math is right. I will tell you the math is right.
Where do those kids go? Let's just hypothetically play this out. So now all of a sudden, the community decides, and I'm gonna be real, to close schools that are achieving at much higher levels than our neighbors. We're doing a better job education in there. If you look at any statistic. Okay, so you're gonna sacrifice that, you're gonna pay at least as much. And what district would accept us? Where are they gonna house those kids? Then you have to build a new building in those communities. Are they gonna accept us and build new buildings? It just does not make sense. And it really is, the thing that boggles my mind is we built one of the most overachieving school districts in the state of Illinois. That's irrefutable. And to close it, to go to an inferior school for probably the same money for people who most likely would not even take us, it just doesn't make any sense.
We're talking about elementary school now, which we're gonna need anyway. Even if what you said is right, that we joined Hinsdale Central, even if that was the case, we'd still need an elementary school. We're talking about that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I just came out of Hinsdale Central, and I can tell you the pros and cons of being in school there. I mean, I know that over here at Westland High School, you can be a star. I can't even begin to tell you the stress that my kids went through over at Central. My daughter she was a cheerleader, she didn't make cheerleading the first year. Oh my God, I mean, it was terrible. The competition over there is just beyond.
I completely agree. I
For
think Westlawn is
things
better.
that shouldn't even be that hard to do. Then you've got the whole push for, it's like college prep. And yes, they do have AP classes, but there's so much pressure to get yourself to that level, so you're taking those AP classes. And it's a pressure cooker. And when my husband and I moved over, because I live on Oakwood, I'm just down the street from the high school, we were literally like, we should have moved here earlier. We kind of knew about the neighborhood because we felt like our kids actually would have been less stressed and probably a lot happier if they'd been at a Westmont High School. It's not a terrible school, but I also know that Hinsdale Central, my daughter's graduating class had 800 kids. That's a lot. They can't take any more. They would have to build a new high school. There's 13 feeder schools that go into Hinsdale Central. And I think your high school is actually really nice. I don't know. That's just my input.
I
On the other
appreciate
side,
that.
I've been over there.
Boy, this has been great. We've gone I think, but it's fantastic if you're willing to give us the time. So thank you. We have 2 subsequent meetings, and I don't think that'll be the last one. We just have 2 more, because we want to meet the people and hear them out and make a recommendation to the school board. And then there'll be subsequent meetings.
We continue to work.
Is the next one be on elementary?
Pardon?
Is the next one?
Listen,
We have one online on the 15th, one in person.
giving you guys some feedback
I
to
think
know
that's
that
right.
while you are making efforts, I'm not denying that you're not, some of your efforts aren't happening, and I don't know if that's the postal service.
Did you not get the previous postcards?
No, I didn't, I'm right around, I didn't.
I didn't get one.
Well, I'm just saying,